What? What? The, what? No. What? 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 What's that? No. Don't tell me. Is it 4 a.m.? Oh no. Please, no. No. I don't wanna go. Please don't kill me. I'm gonna need a lot of sugar for this. What the hell? It's sugar time. Can't have a nice cup of sugar without a bendy straw. Dig in. I'm gonna need this, Yoda. I'm gonna take that from you. It all began when my mother bought me a new Donkey Kong game in order to make me feel better about the smallpox that Mima had gotten herself into. My idiot Mima decided to eat a burger without rubbing hand sanitizer on it first, and now she suffers the consequence. That's alright, I suppose. At least Donkey Kong is here to bring me cheer to my life. Or so I thought. The strange thing about this game is that it didn't seem like it was really made by the Donkey Kong Company. It was in a DVD case that read Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze 2, The End of Kong. I thought that it was perhaps a sequel, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, that I just hadn't heard about, although the weird thing was that the game was on a 3DS cartridge. So I shoved the game into my PS2 Plus and began my quest of Kong. The game began with a distorted DK rap, which I thought was strange because the song was no longer considered cool and is very rarely referenced by the Donkey Kong Company, and even when they did, it would be in titles like Super Kong Slamma. Anyway, this DK rap wasn't the same as any of the other alterations. It was slow, as if it had been formulated in a way that every agonizing second had been carefully designed to urge you to question the reasoning for your existence. Also, every time a member of the Kong clan had showed up for their time to shine, they had solemnly walked to the center of focus and just silently stared at the screen. No, they were not staring at the screen. They were staring at the player. They were staring at me. I could feel my soul withering from within as every ounce of being I once felt was torn away from my desperate, cold hands. When the lyrics for each individual character finally concluded, the character would open a door behind them that led into a dark room. I could not see into this room, but that did not matter, for it was the next Kong's turn to look at me. As you can imagine, like any normal person, I chose not to skip through this part of the game because I really liked it. When the rap had regretfully succeeded to void me of my senses, A screen with none other than Cranky Kong opened up. Cranky Kong told me that he had bubonic yellow flu, and that the only way for me, Donkey Kong, to save him was to bring the banana sack. Unfortunately, Kmart was the only Donkey Kong store in town that sold the banana sack, and they closed down recently due to what Cranky refers to as the vegan Chinese. And the only way to obtain one now was to pay like $4 on eBay or to win one in the Banana Slamma competition. Naturally, Cranky Kong enlisted me in the latter. Thus began my quest to win Cranky his banana sack. Upon approaching the big day of the competition, I had to face Swanky Kong. When the match began, me, being Donkey Kong, threw a punch at Swanky, who caught my fist with his mouth and said, "You should not have done that." Swanky proceeded to open his mouth wider and wider until it was so wide that I could no longer see anything other than what lay inside him. The gravity of the mouth itself was powerful enough to pull Donkey Kong into the mouth with great force. At this point I had fallen down into Swanky's throat into an abyss of eternal darkness. At this point, the controller I was using for my Xbox 360 Nintendo Switch edition had already started smoking and proceeded to burn my hand. I hear rustling from within my closet, and out bursts a nimble shadow, holding what appears to be a ping-pong racket. The shadow quickly jumped onto my legs, digging its claws into them, and swung downward onto my head with its ping-pong racket. As the racket collides with my skull, a crunch can be heard as I lose consciousness. I find myself awakening in a darkened, candlelit room with a locked concrete door in front. I quickly realize that I am bound to what seems to be an electric chair, and I start to panic. However, this panic does not last for long, as I begin to hear a faint tapping in what I presume to be a hallway beyond the door. The tapping grows louder, and louder, and louder, until every sense of hearing within my eyes begins to be overwhelmed by the noise. Then suddenly, the tapping stops, and the door begins to creak open. What enters is the unforgettable sight of Cranky Kong, who seems to have nearly withered away due to his Spanish plague fever. "Do you know what I needed?" Cranky Kong asked me with a disgusting smile, as I realized that every single one of his teeth had blackened from decay. My response is a simple shake of my head, which is enough to alter Cranky's expression. "You don't have it," Cranky frantically proclaims as he presses his sharp claws deep into my already cut legs. Cranky's anger begins to take control of his skin as his skin melts off him, revealing his true self. As Cranky begins to melt his flesh onto my body, his true form is revealed to me. He is none other than my dear old Mima. Mima proceeds to bite off my ear as if she were Mike Tyson or something, and then gives me a light tap on the forehead, which is enough for me, once again, to lose consciousness. I now find myself in another dark room, and I don't think I'm going to be able to escape this pickle, for there are no doors or any means of escape. The room is barren, filled with no water, food, sunlight, and very little oxygen. However, Mima did leave me with a few things, one of which is a fresh can of OxyClean, another being my ear, and the final thing is a laptop. The laptop has one video titled "The End of Kong.mp4. I open the video only to be greeted with the scarring image of Mima's smile as she places something under the shelf that I recognize to be at her trophy shelf. Only in place of the awards the leader of China had given her for infiltrating the FBI were appeared to be the heads of each member of the Kong clan. First was Donkey Kong, who had seemed to have lost his eyes during his struggle against the wrath of Mima. Then there was Cranky, who Mima had taken the form of in order to carry out her vendetta against me. Then there was also other obscure characters, such as Dixie Kong and even Ninja Kong, sitting there on Mima's shelf. There are only two members of the Kong clans whose heads I do not seem to find on Mima's shelf, the first being Diddy Kong. However, this makes sense, because nobody cares about Diddy. The next is Swanky Kong. Finally, the frame of the video alters, and it is transformed into the putrid image of my dear old Mima's smile. while I can hear the faint screams of children in the background. As the video finally reaches its conclusion, the computer dies immediately, which reveals to me the truth. As the computer's light fades from my eyes, the reflection of my face becomes visible to me in the screen. The reflection reveals to me the terrifying truth. I am Swanky Kong.